Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, as always, thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. So, tonight's video, I've got a tale of a recent fishing trip, a tournament tomorrow, a tournament Sunday, and um, just a cool, unique story and some updated information, and just a little bit of some. I think it'll be fun. So, a little bit of a reality check, right? So we'll tell you guys about how my fishing went out at Salt Springs Valley Reservoir. I have a tournament there tomorrow. I'm going to have to kind of keep some of what I was doing and what I didn't do and where I was or wasn't kind of low key, but I'm going to talk about it and you guys ought to get a kick out of it. And I have a tournament Sunday at, I believe, Millerton. So I'm going to be fishing Millerton with a buddy of mine, Mike, and hopefully we'll get on him. So he's going to be pre-fishing Millerton for us tomorrow to kind of feel the lake out and just double check. He's been doing decent there. He's from that area. I don't think I've actually ever fished Millerton, so I may have. If it's either Millerton or Shaver, and either one, even if I did, I've only fished those lakes like once from shore. I've just heard nothing but bad stuff about those lakes, and they're more towards Fresno, so I haven't fished them much. But you know what? That's about the same amount of drive as a lot of these other lakes I'm going to. So Millerton, it is. Hey, appreciate it, Mark. Yeah, I try to give out as much information as I can, and I'm going to tell you guys the true story. It's not like every day we go out and smash them and whack them and kill it, but I'm actually pretty decent at fishing, and usually I just do pretty good. I'm not going to say I'm always like the best dude out on the lake, but I'm usually doing pretty good and having a good time fishing. I've had a lot of fun. If you look at the VAC video logs, I've got 390 something fishing videos, and I've had a lot of fun this last 2 years doing the YouTube. Now we're doing some tournament fishing, so um, I know what to do. Sometimes it's capitalizing on it, right, and just making the right decisions. So that's one thing too. Is a lot of anglers don't show their flaws or their losses or their downsides or just their bloopers or what they mess up on, and some of them do. But I'm very open. I'll let you guys know when I sucked or when I didn't or when I killed them. When I did really good, I'll let you know what I'm fishing, what I'm catching them on, all that good stuff. So tonight we're going to be talking about a couple different things, but we're going to start with Salt Springs Valley Reservoir. Now, I want you to keep bear in mind, like what we talked about last week, the last video, or early this week, and think about the spawn, pre-spawn transition, and we can go through what I think I did wrong. Um, so, I was out at Salt Springs Valley Reservoir. First problem is we had planned on fishing a tournament there, so we were supposed to be pre-fishing. Well, unfortunately, we did not get to the lake until probably close to 10 o'clock, which is usually when the bite shuts down and becomes the hardest. And so we missed that first 2.5, 3.5 hour window of the tournament. And so we didn't get to pre-fish that window. So we got there, and I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I caught a monster crappie. That was it. Um, my buddy Jay, he got three really decent bass between 2.5 and 3 pounds, and that was it. So I missed one for sure bite on my LV 500. That was a for sure bite. Could have been a monster bass. Could have been another crappie. I don't know, but I did catch one. I caught a big old fat crappie. Oh yeah, I do it like that, man. With the Walmart, I even show you guys Rhino Indestructible, 1999. Hey Ray, what's going on? So I'm out at Salt Springs, and let's just put it to you this way: I'm going to give you guys some information, but I just because I'm fishing a tournament there, I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to give enough. So it was the water temperature there was like 52 to 53 degrees, I think, and the water clarity was just it was really stained and dirty. wasn't a good visibility, like less than a foot. There was a lot of wind, but not too much, but enough. And we committed to basically fishing the way. So we used to fish out there a couple of times, last year, and did pretty good fishing a certain way, right? Yeah, sorry I wasn't on Wednesday. Yeah, or was it? Yeah, you know it. You're the Walmart girls. Yeah, the big old back booby girls, right? The bass so big that their back straps got belly on them. So sometimes, right? Not this trip. So I was out there and I caught a really fat crappie. Jay caught three bass, and we really put ourselves in a box, I think, and we fished the past. So we assumed, and also one thing we can kind of do is assume that because the bite was a certain way at one lake, that it's going to be the same way at another, which it can kind of be at these mother lode lakes like McClure, Don Pedro, New Melones, Tulick, stuff like that. Rule of thumb is if you're cracking them at one lake doing something, go try that at one of the others. If it doesn't work, adjust from there. So we go out to the lake and let's just give you guys some hints. So we do exactly what I've been talking about. We do exactly what I've been doing in my other videos, but we do it with some slightly different baits, right? And that's how Jay gets his three. I couldn't buy a bite all day, just nothing. It was just like it was dead. And within the first hour, half hour, I actually got like a 2.5 pound crappie right out the gate, like almost, right? It was fun, but just hours of nothing for me. And then I get cracked on an LV 500, and then just I couldn't. It was just instant hit it, drop it. And I tried some other things. I just couldn't get bit. And I was doing a lot of the same techniques my partner was doing. And to give you guys some hints, I was fishing extremely slow. I was fishing more deep, and I was dragging lures, and it just wasn't working. However, my partner stroked three doing that, but three isn't going to win a tournament. And if I could have caught mine, we would have had four at least. And I may have missed a couple bites. There were some moments through the day where I just felt like I got hit by something. When I was reeling in, there were moments when I was on the bottom and I could have swore something had picked it up. Um, Weighed 16.7 pounds at the opener tournament. Nice. So I really didn't have a going in. We didn't really have any kind of battle plan other than they're probably still based on the water temp for sure, probably still winter or pre-spawn if anything, but on that slow pattern. And we picked some up, but God, we just could not capitalize. It was just so much of a struggle. Now there's two guys in the boat, right? And we're thinking he just wants to keep drifting and slow fishing, and I can't blame him when he's got three fish. I'm getting frustrated and I want to start checking up more in shallow. Now, towards the end of the day, we actually move around and we try a few places, but just it didn't work out. And even then, I don't know if we were shallow enough. I couldn't. I graphed like three fish all day. It was so crazy. Couldn't catch them, but and then when we finally tried using his graph because he's got this old beat up graph, and so it's like the like $199 Walmart fish finder, super old hummingbird or something, but it works, right? It gives you water temp depth and it actually shows fish. So we started using it, and I graph a couple fish, but we don't really fish for them because we're moving around and stuff. And if I see them tomorrow, I'm going to fish for them. I've seen a couple in like the 20 something range there. I've seen a couple in like the 14 or 15 foot range there. But we really didn't check in 1 to 5 feet of water. And one thing I do know about a shallow lake like that is even though it may be a little colder, they still, if the light conditions are right, meaning the moon phases and they know that it's starting to like the days are getting longer, and then the water warms up, cools off, warms up and cools off because it's a lot shallower. So it radiates its heat a lot quicker. So at nighttime, when we still have cold nights, those shallow bodies of water, they can cool off a lot faster. So think about the lakes like this big old pot of water, right? You get it boiling hot, it stays hot for a long time. Get it really cold, stays cold for a long time. It's slow to give off its heat or to receive heat. So those bigger bodies of water warm up slower and cool down slower, and they have less big variations in temp. A shallow body of water could be, let's say it's the highs are like 40 at night, 42 at night, and then in the daytime it's 69, right? Well, that water temp's gonna be pretty dang cold. It ain't gonna be 42, but say it got as high as 53, 54 in the daytime. That water could cool off to 48, and then warm up all day and hit 54, 55, have big wild temp swings, and that can really affect the fish. But once they know it's spawned, they may have pushed up shallow, and we may not have given it a fair shake. So here's what I'm going to do. What's going up, Mike? Or what's going on, Mike? 199 a month seems legit. The 199 for the whole thing. Panoptic setup. Oh, okay, yeah, 199 a month. Oh, nice. How's it going, Charles Chalk, RC Creative? So, yeah, black and blue is what we tried. So at the end, I tried going to Junebug, Cinco, stuff like that. Um, let's just tell you guys what I did. Okay, here's what we did. We just drifted around the deepest parts of the lake, dragging Cincos, right? Just dragging Cincos, and it worked for us. We almost want to check. We screwed up. It was all perfect conditions. There was like fish hitting top water somewhat here and there. You could see some fish, and just it was all beautiful. There was like all those weeds on the surface. It was like a early summer past spawn tournament out there, and we got like two fish on a crankbait or top water early morning, and then another one later on, and we started chasing fish all day and just didn't catch any more fish and had just almost a miserable experience until we tried, because we fish Kelsey a lot, which is a lot like Salt Springs. And I convinced him, hey, let's go out deep and let's just drag some Cincos on the weed edges. And sure enough, we just started stroking them. And we didn't finish very good in that tournament, but we went from what would have definitely been like, if you had 25 boats, we were probably in like 20th place, and we moved up to maybe 12th or something, 10th. So we started smacking them out there doing that. And that's what we went to go do the other day. We basically went around the big middle pot bowl, fishing the drop offs and dragging the Cincos just super slow. And then what I was doing was doing that. I was doing that. And then we were bombing. I was bombing an LV as far as I can in any damn direction and just using the real soft hops. And I got one that boom. And then when I lit, gone, just done. And now, of course, I caught a 2.5 pound freaking crappie on an LV 500, but I couldn't get a damn bass. It was so frustrating. But I didn't. Let's keep it real. We're just gonna tell you guys what happened. I didn't throw Ned rigs. I didn't throw drop shots. I didn't throw a jig. I didn't try a spinnerbait slow roll. I didn't try a jerk bait. There was a couple of different things in the wind, especially with dirty water. I should have damn done. I should have tried something with more thump and movement. I thought the LV 500 would do it, but I was using red. A crawdad color, and I didn't have my tackle box with me. All I had was my terminal tackle kit, some rubber stuff, and then that was pretty much it, right? So I wasn't in my boat, so I didn't have all my stuff so I could switch and change. And so I just chilled and tried to fish the lazy Kelsey way, and that almost always pays off. But I didn't try a drop shot. I didn't try a lot of different things. And I just stubbornly dragged that damn Cinco, or I threw an LV 500 just repeatedly over and over and over and over. And right when like you've done it for an hour or two and you're frustrated and you're about to give up and try something else, then Jay strokes one on the damn Cinco. So I'm back to dragging the Cinco. And to be honest, too, I think 2 out of 3 of his fish came literally dead sticking, where he had casted it out, left his pole there, and was doing something, and then he goes and picks it up, and boom, fish on without working it out at all. Yo, hey, hey, Gerbs. A small swim bait and jigs. Wish me luck. Hey, good luck. So we'll talk about 55 today in the inlet. So we went into the inlet a little bit, but we didn't go back. So, like I said, again, it sucked. We made a few casts up shallow, but when you didn't get them, you're like, okay, they must be out deep because that's where we got them. But I told my buddy I wanted to try checking in shallow, and we really didn't cover enough of the lake shallow. So we're talking about Salt Springs right now, but tying it in, I'd like to basically, if you're a Delta fisherman or if you fish any shallow body of water in another state, this conversation is really going to, I think, it could help you. And I'm also being honest about the fact that not every day I go out there and kill them. I mean, I consider myself to be pretty good at fishing, and I don't want to come up with a bunch of excuses, but we'll let you guys know. I wasn't in my boat, didn't have my gear really. I just said, yeah, I had my poles, but I only brought like four. Figured it'd be finesse fishing, and we did not fish shallow because that's just the water temp was cold, and that's where we usually stroked them out there was deep. And then it really sucked to get a big 2.5 pound crappie out deep, and then to get like a 3 pound bass out deep, all within about an hour. And then just the rest of the day was miserable. 2 hours, 3 hours in between fish with like one nice bass here, one nice bass there. He got his three. So it was tough for us, but we did not check in shallow. We did not go really into the back of the inlet at all. We hit a couple of points up. We fished over by the dam and we drifted around out in the middle. So here's what I'm saying. So I'm going to go in tomorrow when I'm not I'm not a broke joke or anything, but I'm kind of hurting right now. So I'm going to go in there and spend money. I probably shouldn't be, but I don't care. I'm going to go for the fun, for the excitement. I'm going to take my son. So I went with a cat who, is an awesome dude. He's a good guy. And we went and we tried to fish really hard, and he got some fish. I didn't, but it was still stressful. So I'm pretty sure, he backed out of the tournament. He says, hey, can't make it. And completely understand. So I'm going to roll in there tomorrow with my 13-year-old son, and I'm going to hand him the two different rods he always fishes with. I'm going to give him a couple of different lures, and I'm just going to let him stick them out the back like he always does. And then I'm going to focus on trying to get mine and go have fun. So I'm going to go spend the day with my son fishing, whether we catch them or not. I think it's going to be a great time, father and son time together. But I learned that, yes, we can still get some out there deep, but I think we need to be checking in shallow. We needed to be checking in more arms, keeping an eye on my fish finder, and try a couple different lures too. We already knew to go with the dark colors because of the visibility, but we didn't try a jig. We didn't try like a lot of different things. So tomorrow I'm hoping to just go in and have a good time and see what we can do. So a lot of times too, I go and I crush it in pre-fishing. So I can give you two examples. McClure, I went pre-fishing for a river rat night tournament, got a 10 pounder and like a 4 pounder and a bunch of fish. I would have murked anybody, right? So you think I'm going into that tournament feeling good, but also knowing I ain't gonna catch another 10 pounder, right? Damn. So I did all that during pre-fishing, and then during the tournament, I did all right, but I think I actually have a pretty good feeling about this tournament. It doesn't make sense, but I have a gut feeling and then even if like not winning or anything, I know I'm going to have fun with my son. That's really important. And then two, I'm going to get to be the captain. There will be no second guessing, no two heads, no two brains to try to figure it out. It's going to be me trying to just figure it out and break the lake down, trusting that my son can drag a drop shot, a Ned rig, a little finesse jig or a Cinco or something with nice sharp thin wire hook. So if he doesn't really feel the bite and it just loads up, and he kind of starts reeling, he'll still catch the fish. You don't have to hook him. So I'm gonna set him up with something, and he's actually done really good. We went to New Maloney's. Damn boy outfished me on weight and hung with me on numbers. Like seriously, put like 15 fish in the boat himself. I'm like, damn boy, good job. I was super proud of him. So I'm gonna take my son. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna have a great time. So you know. Yeah, I'm talking to some people, and salt. I would recommend New Maloney's. The fish are moving up. They're still fishing like 30 to 40. There's a lot of fish in that 25 to 15 range. And thanks, man. Appreciate it, Mark. So, yeah, I'm fishing with my son. I've already won. That's exactly how I feel. So I'm gonna go in there, swinging, have a great time. Hopefully, some of you guys will be there. If not, I'm gonna go make some new friends, go talk to people, have a good time, and go compete and and just have fun. I'm gonna be competitive. I'm gonna go to win. I'm gonna try my hardest. Yeah, may the best fisherman win in the end. But it's I'm gonna go have a fun time. I'm gonna go make sure that I meet some new fishermen, and that I go out there and challenge myself. Because really, at the end of the day, tournament fishing isn't necessarily as much about you against the other anglers as it is you against yourself, right? It's like conquering your own demons, conquering your second guesses, doing what you know and executing, right? Because you could go out and fun fish and tear it up all the time, but then the second you get in a tournament setting, you can end up doing really bad. And a lot of the time, that'll be the case with me sometimes. I mean, I've won plenty of them, but I found that when I get too, bought into the tournament and less fun fishing, it almost ruins it or puts me in a different mind state. And so I'm competitive no matter what. So I don't need to go out there all ramboed out, I just need to go like I would as if it was any other fishing trip and just go relax and have fun. And I almost always do great when that's the case. So I'm hoping having my son with me is just going to keep me from being on edge, help me have a more of a father son time, have fun, and take it less as a tournament, but still be competitive, still try to think and process and make some good calls. And we'll see what happens. But I'm going to record it, win, lose, or draw, skunk or win, and we're going to share that with you guys. I'm going to edit and put out the video of me catching a big 2-pound crappie or so, 2.5-pound crappie. And then you're going to see Jay catch 3 bass, and you're going to see us floating around having fun. We didn't do as much singing about the taco truck, but we were trying desperately to catch fish. And we weren't having so much fun that we were thinking about the taco truck afterwards. So, but I'm excited. I'm going to bring that to you guys. And I just wanted to share my experience too of getting my ass kicked. Because I think it's important that sometimes people get in their own heads, and it's like, why do I suck? What's going on? What's wrong? We all make mistakes. We all have tough days out there on the lake. It's important to learn from them and make them something, because those tough days are what make you a good fisherman. Because the next time that happens, you can recognize the situation that you're in and try to change it, right? And put yourself in a good mindset too, positive. Think that you can win. Go to try to win, but also go with a smile on your face to have fun. And don't lose sight of that. And I think, at least for me, that's my advice to myself, actually. And I think I'll do all right. So I'm excited to go in tomorrow and see what we can do. And then Sunday, I've got a tournament at Millerton. I've never fished. What a doobie booty. Doobie doobie booby. What I said booty. What the hell? I was thinking of my dog. I call her Trudy Booty. She's a girl, so she wags her tail all the time. I'm burnout. Anyways, doobie. So find the grass, find the fish. The cows ate a lot of the grass end of last summer when the water was so low. Well, I found the grass in the deep, like a gang of dead grass, right? Like piles of it. And I found it in the inlet in the middle too. And we found a couple of fish in there. But I think that's what we were looking for. We were figuring already to try to find the grass, right? But the problem is that because we're used to fishing Kelsey, and I know that even Kelsey in the middle of the winter, the hydrilla and the grass doesn't fully 100% die off. But I heard that that lake got so low that it was like the water level was past where the 5 mile an hour or the no wake buoys were. I appreciate it, James. So I'm gonna be there tomorrow. I'm gonna check in shallow. My points of attack are probably gonna be somewhere near along the dam, but up shallow more. Then there's that stretch that has the trees all along it, across the way where the sunken little ship's at. There's a couple of main lake points that are I like to fish that I'll go check those out. And I think I'm gonna head into the inlet, but I think everyone's going to be back there. So I'm going to fish shallow, but I'll also have my son probably fishing deep. So we're going to try. Are you going to be there, James? If so, make sure you come stop by, say hi, or that way I know who you are, and I'll come check you guys out and say hi. But I'll be videotaping it all, so you guys will get to see it either way. But I appreciate, I had a feeling that because I'm like, unless all the damn fish in the lake died, there weren't, even on the graph, it was just dead out in the middle. There was only so many fish out there. And so I'm like, they've got to be up shallow. I go, if they're not deep, they're got to be somewhere. They got to be shallow. So I don't know. Well, I'm not going to rule out that there's fish deep, but let's just put it this way. I already kind of know there's not a lot of fish deep. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go out there and try. So I appreciate your input and your information, and we'll let you guys know how I do. And if I do good, well then James, big shout out to you. So I'm gonna go check out those spots I was telling you about. There's some kind of limestone boulders that are out off the dam that are kind of kitty corner to the dam at the very end and out kind of not in the middle, but kind of headed that way. And there's usually a lot of big grass there when it drops off where the grass dies. And in the summertime or other times of the year, we used to kill them in those weed edges, right? So that's what we were going for, but we didn't know what we were going to run into and see. So, oh, for sure. Mad Bass, nice. Using your buddy's boat, no Vexus tomorrow. I'll be there in the good old nitro, the blue and white nitro. You guys will see me. I'll have my common sense fishing shirt on. It'll be me and my boy. I don't know if we can take the dog with us. I was thinking about it, but I'm like, he's not a third man. He can't hold a pole. I'm like, that wouldn't count, would it? I'm like, Now I don't know if you can bring dogs there or not, so I wasn't sure. But and then on top of that, last two times, not last two times, with there's been a couple of times when Charlie was on the net when we had a bass on and we needed to get the net quickly and we lost our fish because we couldn't get the net from underneath Charlie in time. And he eventually got off of it, but it was like, God dang it, Charlie. Oh, well, so we're going to try. So me and my son will be out there, but that's the thing is they've been moving up shallow at like McClure, Don Pedro, New Maloney's. Sweet, come say hi. So one thing that I would say that if you are seeing fish up shallow, or if you're seeing fish on beds, now we're going to talk fishing in general. We're going to go to New Maloney's, McClure, Pedro, Tulick, Shaver, Millerton, Clear Lake, Berryessa, I don't care. Any lake where you can actually see the bedded fish or have an idea, like you can see a silhouette of the bed, stuff like that. There's fish there, but you're having trouble getting bit. It's two kind of things I would recommend. Like last time I was talking about, if those fish are moving when you're casting, if you're casting and the fish are getting away from your lure, you're spooking them, those are the type of fish that they're just very finicky, and they can be like that right now. So they can be sitting up there, but skirt as soon as a splash happens, as soon as something goes down. So, and then they may come back and check it out, but you start popping and moving your lure, they kind of look at it, but they might follow it, but they won't commit, they won't touch it, they won't hit. You'll notice sometimes they'll kind of nibble at it. Even you might even get a bite. You set the hook and you're like, what the hell? Hey, appreciate it. No limit off road. So, there'll be those times where you think you should be killing them, like it's pre-spawn or spawn. They're eating, or they're moving up shallow. They're clearing beds off and stuff. Why am I struggling right now? And there's two things that usually can be the case with that. Sometimes, slow down. Let me give you a scenario. There's 3 or 4 fish up shallow trying to pick a mate, trying to lay beds, or fan off the beds, do all that good stuff. They're not there yet, but they're about to. They're moving up shallow. You can kind of see some silhouettes. You see some fish. You cast right on them, bloop, and the fish go boom. And then you might see one kind of come back, pop your lure. It looks at it. You wiggle jiggle. It goes down by your lure. You work it. 100 casts, that same kind of thing happens, but the fish won't eat your lure. So one is the fish have probably decided they're going to make a bed in that area. If they're not swimming and moving and they've moved up and it's this close to spawn, their bed's probably going to be somewhere around there. So tip number one is put it as far past them on the shore if you can. I mean, like literally if you're using a rubber or something, inch or two of water, or if they're in 3 or 4 feet, put it in a 1 foot. And then when that initial cast happens, they'll probably scurry and wait for them to come back before you start popping and moving. And then when they do, give an erratic, maybe small little pop, let it die, and then drag it super, super slow. And then if they seem to lose interest, pop it again. But if you can see the fish, you can gauge their reaction. But a lot of the time, if I know they're there, I see them there, or if I start catching fish shallow and I know they're there, what I like to do instead of sight fish is just blindly trust that they're going to be up there, cast in the water that looks good, and just slowly work my lure very slow, paying more attention to feel. And then here's the thing is if you can see the fish can see you. So, one of my biggest tactics is to go cruising the shoreline, spotting fish while I'm fishing. And then if I see a big one or a group of them, I'll back off or move around, chill for a minute, and I'll spot lock and just start fishing. Because I know they're in the area. I know where they're at. I can just keep repeatedly making casts. We talked about boxing the male and how to get the female, stuff like that. But in this pre-spawn period, another tip is if you notice that you're fishing in 1 to 5 or 1 to 8, something like that, maybe as deep as 10, and all you are getting is 1 to 2 pound bass. If you cannot get anything above 2.5 pounds, then what I would suggest you do, especially if you're in a tournament, get your 5. When you got your 5, then do this. If you're fun fishing, immediately stop fishing up shallow like that and turn around and focus in the 10 to 25 range and throw things like underspins, jigs, whatever. If you have to throw a drop shot or an egg rig, whatever, but put hopefully a bigger profile bait, a little bit, right? Don't have to be a big swim bait, but maybe a Cinco, Texas rig worm or something, right? Something with a little meat to it, a jig, right? And toss that out into deeper water and work it shallow. So don't say, okay, let's say the males are 1 to 10 feet of water, right? And you can just park your boat in 25, 30 feet of water, cast up to shore, work your lure down a bit, boom, got one, right? And you're catching them, having a great time, and getting nothing but 1 to 2 pound males. If you start then casting in 10 to 25, you're probably going to start struggling a little more. You might catch a couple little males, you might get a nice one. But those females, when they're waiting to come up and spawn and they're just sitting there, the males will push up first, clear stuff out, and then the females will start moving up too. Or they'll move up to feed, and then the males will come up to chase them. You might have one nice female with 3 to 5 males trying to mate with her. But when the males are predominantly shallow and you can't seem to find those females, they're backed off a little bit deeper. So a slightly bigger bait helps, but the main thing that helps is those females are almost like in a waiting stationary mode. And by working your lure downhill just through the dynamics of water, a small little hop when there's this thing and you pull it out like this, that lure may fall 10 feet, right? Obviously, you shouldn't be fishing steep walls in the spawn, fish like this. But if pop your lure and it goes, it's like on the moon, like the astronauts, right? It's not just bink, bink, gravity don't just pull it down right away. So you're not just working it down like this. When you think you're working down a hill, you're actually swimming your lure 2 or 3 feet off the ground. It hits 2 or 3 feet off the ground. It hits. So you might cover 10 or 15 foot stretch and actually only cover a very small portion of that water, because most of the time your lure is just sailing above stuff. And if the fish are locked to the bottom, they're waiting, you really want that lure in front of the fish's face as much as possible and as long as possible. By bringing it uphill, you are constantly in contact with the bottom. And if you hop, you're going to hop and it may even fall right back down to the same spot almost. Or if you hop, it'll barely go up. Even if it kind of sits there and then goes boom, it didn't fly through the air like Air Jordan, right? So when you're going up, you're going to have much more bottom contact. So if you're catching those males in 1 to 7, 1 to 10, and you can't seem to find anything quality, pull your boat up then and fish down, right? Pull your boat into 3 to 5 feet of water, fish carefully so you don't hit anything. Then here's your ticket. Here's what you can really do. This is like the juice, the secret. Keep your eyes shallow and scan, and you keep the sun in front of you. It's going to be harder to see, but you have Polaroid glasses, right? And travel in to the sun, because here's why I'm saying this. If you're traveling with the sun at your back and you're on the nose of your boat with your sunglasses looking into the water, when the sun hits you, your 6-foot body will cast maybe a 12-foot shadow or a 15-foot shadow or whatever. And then because the boat's in the water, your shadow's not only casting out, it's also casting downward in front of you. So fish are like, also, if you've ever seen a lizard or certain things where like they have these natural senses, because birds are natural predators of them. So when a shadow passes overhead, the lizards and certain other things, they get scared because they think, that it's a defensive instinct from a predator. So fish, when an instant shadow comes over them, that can spook them out, especially when they're in that kind of finicky mood. So don't have the sun to your back, because it'll cast the shadow forward. Put the sun in front of you, have your Polaroid glasses, and then you can look in front of you and you might see a 10-pounder, a 5-pounder sitting on a bed in which you can start fishing for. So while you're scanning shallow, you cast out kind of deep, not to 30, 40, cast into 25, and then slowly bring your lure up to you while you're looking at the ground around you. Then when you find that bedding bass, you can focus on it. But in the meantime, you're probably going to get, I've been doing the pee-pee dance. I don't know if you guys have been noticing. I got to go pee real quick. Give me a second. Be right back. What are you doing? Do not go in there. Trudy, Dakota, Trudy, come here. Oh, goodness. My doggies got in here. I got to go put them out. Come on. Let's go inside. Come on, girls. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Girls. All right. Oh, sorry about that, folks. Old man here with the little bladder. Can't hold it for long. Just kicks in like, oh, I gotta pee. Sorry. So yeah, so spawn fishing. keep the sun in front of you if you can. So if you see this, so let's talk about how you would pick a shoreline. How do you pick a spot, right? So first of all, here's some of the little tropes they say. The northernmost flats will turn on first in a lake. Um, and you want the shore that gets most of the sunlight. You obviously want a spawning flat, right? You want a spawning area. And if the fish aren't in the spawning area, this time of year, they should be somewhere right next to it. The very first point, you spawning flat, and then there's a point here. There should be sitting there waiting to move into that spawning flat. But let's say they're there. So you're driving your boat and you're on the lake, right? And we'll pick, thanks guys. We'll pick, let's just say McClure, right? You're smashing down McClure and you're like, okay, Horseshoe Bend or Piney or Arnold Bay, or is there enough water to go up to Bagby? All right, so you're making your choice. So let's say, okay, water levels. Let's go to Piney. You check Piney out, right? So you're smashing up the Piney, and it's the morning time, right? And the sun's rising in the east, right? It's going to set in the west. So that opposite shoreline, sun's coming up, let's just say, right? Now, theoretically, that left shore is going to get nice sunlight. That's where you might want to be, but it's a little bit more pitched like this. Now, there's a spawning cove right before you get into Piney after Barrett's, where it's a nice little, there's a big island right there, and then there's a nice little spawning area right there. But let's just say, okay, so how do I pick out my shoreline? So you're driving down, that might be a spot that I'm going to start at, right? I might fish that steep stuff leading into that spawning cove if they're not in that cove yet, right? That island hump, I might fish the outside front and then the outside edges of it where the fish may be stacked in their semi-winter pattern waiting to move into that spawning cove. Or Piney Creek, right? Say I'm going to go into Piney Creek. Oh, I want to run here and check this and that out, right? So some of my favorite shoreline in Piney Creek is right after the very first point. When you come in from the main lake and there's that big old rocky point that separates Arnold Bay from Piney. Well, I like to start right around the corner from that as soon as it flattens out into like a spawning area, right? And say I want to fish that. Well, I'm not going to drive into Piney Creek, right? And then or I'm not gonna. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna start on that point. Although that's what I'll do. That's what I like. That shoreline. I'm not gonna start right there because the sun's gonna be behind me. It's gonna cast my shadow in front of me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive down into Piney until the shoreline that I like is almost done, and then I get to that real steep stuff, and I'm gonna turn around, and I'm gonna fish my way out of Piney so that the sun is in my face and that I can scope for beds, I can cruise that shoreline, I can cast shallow, I can cast mid, I can cast deep, right? I can check them out. And the sun is never being cast in front of me, right? And wind can also be a big factor. So it just depends on how bad the wind is. If the wind is light, I'm not too worried. I'll fish right into that. I'm more worried about the sun then, because if the wind kicks up, you really can't probably see those beds anymore. So you have to blind fish. You have to, hopefully, you've been catching fish throughout the day, right? So you know, are they shallow, are they mid, or are they deep? Then you can just continue to pattern them, But if the wind starts kicking up, you can't see anything. You don't know what's up. That sun issue can become less of an issue because the chop on the top of the water kind of makes it harder for the fish to see you anyways. So I'm not as worried. Goodness, he is totally trying to hide from you. Charlie, get out of here. Out. I got 3 dogs and a wife in here right now. Hold on. Out, Charlie. Out. Out. Goodness. Yeah. He got in trouble today, so he thinks like we don't beat our dogs at all. We love them. They're like our family, But he knows he's in trouble, so he's like, and the wife's like kind of the bad guy right now. So when he has to be punished, it's usually her because I'm not home a lot. I'm out, working or fishing. So, anyways, funny little thing just happened. But yeah, wind. So depending on what you're doing, when the wind kicks up, that's when theoretically you can use things like spinner baits, jerk baits, LV 500s. However, there are times when the pros say, "Oh, when it gets windy, you can do this or that," and I'll do this and that all damn day, and I can't get bit. Sometimes, especially in the winter, when it isn't fully on that mode yet, they're still finesse, or they just don't want a lure worked real fast. Which case a jig does great. So I recommend that when the wind gets strong enough, it trumps sun anytime. So then what you need to focus on is how is the wind going to bow your line? Where are you trying to fish? Are you still focusing shallow? Are you still focusing mid? Are you still focusing deep? In which case, you might have to spot lock, fish into the wind. Drifting, you're going to fish way too fast if the wind's strong. So you got to make sure you hit spot lock. If you don't have spot lock, I strongly recommend that you learn to fish into the wind. And one of the things is I always will carry a couple spinning rods that are medium heavy, for the simple fact that if I'm using bait casters all day and I'm on a hot crankbait bite, I'm on a hot jig bite, I'm on a hot bite. Good evening, Ronald. Good to see you on, and everybody else. Thanks for watching Common Sense Fishes. Smash that like button. Share the video if you guys could, and if you're new here, think about subscribing. But so, anyways, one of the things that can happen in the wind is that if you're using a bait caster and you really have to fish into the wind, that can really screw you up. You can get backlash, all that good stuff. So I'd recommend if you're on a crankbait bite and it's been kind of windy, but the wind picks up a little bit, or you get into an area where it's particularly worse, but the fish are still hitting that crank, um, but they want it a certain way, like a little slow, not too fast. If you start drifting and let the wind push you, and you notice you stop getting bit, you have to either spot lock or move into the wind. You start struggling, right? You're fighting the wind. You're trying to cast your jerk bait. You're trying to cast your whatever, and you just can't seem to get good casts. You can't get any length in front of you. You can't get any distance. The wind throws the dang lure back at you half the way, right? Or bows your line out, and you're trying to work it this way. Now you're working your lure out this way. This is where this little tip will come in handy, and you may use it, you may not, but I strongly recommend using a spinning rod at that point where you can take it and whip it right in front of you and just send that lure, if you're using a crankbait or a jerkbait, right into the wind, and you'll get no backlash. It'll come off the spool as fast as the lure goes. If the lure slows down, the line coming off the spool slows down. You won't get any backlash. So if you're on a hot crank and bite, a hot jerk bait or something bite or spinner bait bite, and you're struggling to throw that lure with a bait caster, I strongly recommend trying doing it with a spinning rod. People call spinning rods fairy rods, right? I wanna be the first one to say, if nobody else has said it, that there's a little secret that we don't like to talk about too much, but for some of us, I mean, we feel it this way. We don't really like to share the secret, but we power fish on spinning rods a lot more than people would like to think, because we can throw 10-pound and 8-pound tests. You just use the really sharp finesse. You got to pay attention to the lure you're using, right? Just don't want to use a grande monster lure. And also, you don't want too thick of a hooks. You're going to want thin wire, really sharp hooks, like will come on a mega bass jerkbait, or an LV 500. You don't want those real thick hooks, right? So you can take, and one thing we'll do is we'll crankbait, we'll jerk bait, and we'll use top water, and we'll use medium to medium heavy rods, 6'6" to 7'2" or 7 foot. It just depends on what you're trying to do. I actually prefer like a 6'6" medium for most of that stuff, but some of the stuff like a jerk bait, I'll use like a 7 foot medium heavy, or something like in that range, 7'2" medium heavy spinning rod with like 10-pound test. drag set perfect, right? With that 10-pound test, it'll slice right through the air. That lure, you can cast it a mile. You can control it in the wind. It won't. It's not as like big and like say you're using 12 or 14 or something. It's kind of poofy. It's hard to explain. It has more surface area. The wind will catch it and bow it more. When you use an 8-pound test and you slice something, you throw it real hard, it'll shoot like a bullet dang there, cut through the wind, and it'll leave less of a bow in the line. So I really recommend, if you're not if I mean, try it. Just tell me what you think. Try it. Pack a couple of spinning rods on your boat that aren't for finesse, and you can thank me later. Especially if you fish the Delta, take a medium action 6.6, 6.8 spinning rod. Put 10 or 12-pound test on it. You put a Biggie Papa crankbait on there. Put a square bill on there or a jerk bait, and you go to the Delta. And when you need to cast that thing in a little bit of wind, and you need to cast it underneath trees and bushes, or you've got 2 docks and you have to make a perfect cast, you can thank me later if you use a spinning rod. I guarantee you will get hooked up more often, because your accuracy and your comfort will, especially most people learn to fish with spinning rods. So I know you may be a guru with the bait caster, but trust me, if you try it, it may feel weird at first, but we smash them like that. And I've even been told by friends, don't tell people about this, don't share it. And for one, you may think they may make fun of you, the pros, who the hell throws a crankbait on a spinning rod? But let me tell you that that's, in our opinion, that's one of our little group, right? Our little fishing group. That's one of our little secrets. I've got double digits on spinning rods on crankbaits. So does my buddy. He's got a 13-pounder. My buddy has a 13.5-pounder on a spinning rod with a crankbait. My other buddy has got 8 and 9-pounders on spinning rods with crankbaits and Senkos. We've been doing it since like high school, and before, using spinning rods and catching monsters. We honestly only learned to bait fish like the last bait caster, bait casting, casting, reels and poles. We only learned to use those the last like 10, 15 years. And we got really good with them. But I'll still tell you that the feel of a crankbait in a spinning rod in my hand is way more, I just feel way more flexible and just highly more skilled, like with what I can do with it. I don't know if I can really put it into words, but if you're someone who's comfortable with the spinning rod, please try it. Just let me know what you think. You do not have to use a bait caster to power fish. You can throw topwater, crankbaits, jerk baits. Just don't go trying to throw a swim bait. There's limitations, right? So there's limitations to what you can or can't do with your spinning gear, right? You're not going to take 12-pound test and throw a depths 250, right? You're not going to be able to do it. You're more than likely going to oh well. So yeah. Anyways, I just got my message from buddy. Can't fish the tournament. I know. I already knew. It's cool. I'm gonna roll in with my son, and we're gonna just have fun. We're gonna go try it. So, anyways, I know I went off on a little tangent or a rant there, but please, if you fish the Delta and you fish in docks and closed stuff, I know you can do it with a bait caster. But if you haven't tried it with a spinning rod, if you're comfortable with one, God, it's just something else to it, because also it just seems like, I don't know, I've got some bait casters that seem to have the same flex, but spinning rods just seem like they're the way that they're like fairy ones, and they work great with like drop shots, Ned rig, stuff like that. Man, they just have the perfect bow to them. They have the perfect action for a square bill crankbait. A 6.6 to a 7-foot max. I'd say 6.8, 6.6 to a 6.8. Medium action spinning rod. It's just, man, we go and we just cover water and we can just zoom. We can cast under trees and docks, wind, it don't matter. Current, the boat can be moving, and we can take that thing and we can really do some work with it. And the drag on a spinning rod operates a lot differently than drag on a bait caster. There are times when I wish I was using a bait caster instead of a spinning rod. But in a lot of instances, I'm sure damn glad I have my spinning rod on me. So hope that tip helps out. So yeah, round out tonight's discussion, basically, keeping it humble, keeping it real. I got my butt whooped out there. I blame myself, although I said to my buddy, we need to be fishing shallow. We caught 3 out deep. All we got to do is get 5. I know it's the spot. I know if we went back to the spot and we fished it thorough, we could get our 5. And then by the time we realized, like, no, you can't, and we tried, it just, we didn't have enough time in the day left to fish other water. So I'm going to take my son out there and we're going to just give it our best. Dark water, of course, we're going to use with dirtier water. You're going to want to use a darker color lure. So this is all kind of Bass 101. Most of you guys probably know this, but they say and recommend that in dirty water, you're going to want to use a darker color lure, but you're also going to want to use a lure with a little more thump. So if you're using a worm, you might want to use a curly tail worm instead of a straight tail worm. If you're using something like a Ned rig, you might want to throw a craw or something like a hula grub, something with a little action to it, like that LV 500. Maybe instead of a jig, an LV 500. So I have some game plan changes. We're going to go and give it our all. We're gonna fish our best and see what we can do. So never give up. Don't beat yourself up. And even the best fishermen have horrible days, and even horrible fishermen have great days. So just keep your line wet. Keep your your line tight and your lure in the water, and you're gonna catch fish. So. Right. Hey, Funk and CT. Always glad to see you. I know you're ahead of time over there, over on the East Coast. So thanks for joining tonight. Really appreciate it. Get yourself some good sleep. And hopefully, I'm going to have some great videos for you guys next week with the Salt Springs coming up tomorrow. And I'm fishing I don't know if it's new. I think it's New Gen or something. But we're fishing one of the tournaments at Millerton, and I guess it's a Sunday tournament, which is pretty odd. I didn't know they had Sunday tournaments. So we're doing 2 tournaments back to back. I've got the pre-fishing video. So I have 3 videos coming out for you guys next week. I've got the BBT McClure video coming out for you guys Monday. So we should have a full list of videos coming out for you guys to watch. And I'm expecting the hot action to turn up any minute now. And now that the fish are pulling up shallow, I'm going to start focusing there and working out mid. And we're going to try to build upon that and show you guys some of my best tips and tricks for this time of year. So I'll try to catch some finicky bass on beds as this spawn progresses. We get in some clear water. I'll start trying to show you how to catch the bass when they're running and coming back. I'll show you guys like how if I spot a big one on a bed, we'll try to record it and show you guys how we get that. And then I'll also show you if I struggle, my other technique, which is, okay, I see the fish, they see me, I'm trying to catch them, they don't want to bite. It's just being annoying. We're covering water. I'm finding a few here, finding them there, seeing them on beds, but it's just stressful. I have those happen because sometimes I forget, when it gets to that time of fishing, spawn goes in waves. So you're going to have this happen a couple of times throughout the spawn where the bite just gets real tough. Well, this is what they're doing. Usually, you might have a wave come up, do their thing, but when they're in that finicky mode where they're real, just as soon as they see you, they dart off or they pull off into deeper water. You'll see what they do consistently during this phase is what I like to call circling, like a shark. You'll see a fish. It'll see you. It'll slowly kind of it'll do almost like a circle, and it'll go like this till it disappears. And if you wait long enough, you'll see that little bastard come right back like a circle like this. It'll just come right back to the bed. And then if you move and you pull up, bass will never come back. Now you're sitting there, it's just going to wait. And if you pass it by, it'll move right back up. Turn around and come right back to that shoreline, that bass will be there. But then you'll cast at it. It'll do the same thing. It'll kind of swim off and it'll come up. When you see those bass doing that circling stuff, that's when I'll pull off where they can't see me anymore. And I just know, okay, the bass are up there. They're doing their thing, whatever. I'm just going to start fishing. And I'm going to start, casting up shallow and working real slow and paying attention to feel and just trying to feel the moment that bass picks that bait up. Because they're a lot of the time during spawn, they're not going to hit it. They're gonna and just kind of slowly move off with it, or just sit there with it. They're either gonna eat it, or they're gonna peck at it and then pick it up and move it off the bed and spit it out. And that's the most likely scenario that you actually feel anything. Otherwise, they might just pick at it and hold it, and then once they determine it ain't real, just spit it out, right? So a lot of the time, you may not feel any kind of barely movement or loading up. If you're very sensitive, if you're paying attention to things and you're fishing slow enough, you'll feel that moment that the bass picks the lure up and it kind of just loads up a little. Not even a tick, it's just all of a sudden a little heavier. Boom, that's it. Set the hook, go to town. And you're not going to catch the big ones that way, but if you need to catch 5, if you need to catch some fish, if you're in a tournament, then and you see that kind of circling action and non-commitment, back up, get out of their zone and just fish normal like you would as if it was summer or something. You're just covering shoreline, right? And just take your time, and they will come. And once you start smacking them, all right, great. Then what I'd recommend is for one is you want to make sure you have a good set of polarized glasses. If you do, a lot of the time you'll see those bass before they see you, and you can stop yourself. Oh, really big tip: turn your trolling motor speed down. You need time to analyze the water, look for light spots, dark spots, look for beds, look for what may be that big ass fish. You need time to digest it. You need time to look at it. And then when you spot it and your brain recognizes it for what it is, then you can start fishing at it. But if your boat is constantly moving forward and you're staring, and then by the time, you see a 6 or 8 pounder with a big old bass, you're already cruising over it. Or if you try to go in reverse, your trolling motor is just going to blast all this water right at that fish and piss it off. So, and it's going to leave. So, and then God forbid it didn't, about to be lay its eggs and you just dusted its bed or just ruined its whole thing, right? Because you turned your trolling motor because you just seen an 8 pounder, 6 pounder. You just seen this big bass. Oh my God. But you're heading towards it. Now you got to turn your trolling motor away, and that's going to blast like a big jet stream right at that fish. So if you're cruising real slow, then you see that fish, then you can have your fish finder real slowly back off, and you're not going to have a big old stream hit them. You even turn your trolling motor down a little bit and back off real slow. But now you know there's a mondo there, and you didn't just wash it out. You didn't just spook the shit out of it. Now you can try catching it. And there's, many different hurdles too as well. The fish might not bite. Fish may bite, but you can't tell. So another little trick is use white during spawn a lot, because what'll happen is you might just see that your lure is this big, and you just see it and you see it. You don't feel nothing. And you notice you can see this little white lure, and it's like this. And then all of a sudden, you only see an inch of your lure. The fish has got it in its mouth. Set the hook. So if you use white, you can actually see your lure disappear and not feel nothing. No, you might have slack in your line, and your white lure just vanishes. Set the hook. And you can see there's this little white silhouette, right? Using a little white swim bait, a little white worm, a little white drop shot, a little white fluke, whatever, right? But something clearish white or white, right? And you're using that, and you pull it right along the bed, and you're flicking it around, messing with it on the bed, and then you see that white just disappear, and you don't feel nothing. That fish has your lure. It didn't Like what happened? The water just got dark all of a sudden and you can't see your lure? No. If you can see your lure the whole time and you're just barely moving it, and you didn't like hop it, under a rock or something, right? Like, not going to happen. If you can watch your lure bouncing along and then all of a sudden it just vanishes, that fish has got it. So real big key is if you can and you're struggling, use white in the spawn too. That's another thing that will really help you put more fish in the boat. So I'm going to get off early tonight because I've got to prep for that tournament. I'm going to go crash and get some sleep. I've been working in the Bay Area doing 12-hour days. So we're kind of having a shorter live stream. So we're going to give you guys about 15 minutes. Any questions you guys have, anything you guys want to talk about, now's the time. Let me know, and we'll talk about it as long as we can, and then I'm going to head off to bed. But let's see what here. Can't wait to see the new vids. Thank you very much. Serious cold front coming in. How is that going to make the bass react? Okay, so good question, Marco. Good question. So two different things. If the bass are just exploratorily moving up and down because of the light conditions and they're truly in a pre-spawn stage, a cold front will knock the bass back. If that timer, let's say, has started and the bass are now in officially like a pre-spawn / spawn mode, and they're not just coming up and down, they're coming up, they're moving up shallower, they're scoping up beds. If the males start making them, that cold front will not push those bass off much, maybe a foot or two. What they may do is just go to that very next water column. So let's just say you got 5-6 foot visibility or 10-foot visibility, whatever, and you see beds anywhere from 2-3 feet, a foot or 2-3, whatever, right there. But you can see beds down in 5 or 6 feet, but there's no fish on them. Those bass did not just clear and disappear. What they did is when that cold front came in, they may have lifted off. If they're not locked and committed to those beds, they'll just simply move back down right where the water starts to go dark, where you can't see the bottom anymore. So as soon as that transition happens, where the bass are usually up there in a couple feet of water, you might be able to spot them and see them, and then you get this cold front come in, they're not going to move into 30 or 40 feet of water. They're simply going to pull off. If they're in, say, 3 to 5 or 6, they're going to pull into 8 to 10. They are not going to move super deep. They're going to go to that very next little ledge drop off or next water column, and they're just going to hang tight for the system to move it and be done. And when it warms up, they're going to move right back up. And it also depends on how big and long the system is. If the system lasts long enough for weeks or days, not weeks, but like a week and a half, 10 days, 8 days, then it may push them back a little bit and hold them there. But once a fish is committed to spawn, the weather won't change it by much. If the fish is in more of a pre-spawn and is trying to feed and stuff, finicky, that fish may pull off, not drastically, but a lot more. That fish may now be in 10 to 20 feet, or sorry, not 10, 15 to 25 feet of water. It just depends on what stage they're in. But you can almost always bet three things can happen in really cold water. Bass may go deeper. They may need you to fish a lot slower. And the third but unlikely thing is, if you can't get them that way, they may just need to be punked into eating. They may need to be triggered. They may need to do a reactionary strike, which is like when it's winter and it's really cold, one of the best baits is a blade bait. So the fish could be just sitting there chilling. It's a cold front. They don't want to move. And a worm comes by. I don't want them to do it. Jig drags by and I don't want them to do it. But then all of a sudden, pew, this little, thing darts by. And the bass like, I need to eat. And it's either fight or flight. They're going to do it, right? It's either commit or not. So like speed cranking in the winter can be a thing, right? LV 500s and blade baits can be a thing. So the three things you're going to want to do during a cold front, starting with fish slower, period. So if they're shallow, stay shallow. Just fish real slow. Or fish a little deeper. So if you've been fishing and you've been finding them in a certain range and they're not there no more, just try that next depth. And fish slow, really, really slow. The colder it is, the slower it is. But if that's not working, and even if it is working, once you've got your 5, if you're in a tournament, you're trying to upgrade, then what you want to do is try to make fish bite. That's where the A rig comes in handy, the blade bait, stuff like that. And really, it just depends on how bad and nasty the cold front is. Because here's another thing, what usually accompanies a lot of cold fronts, not always, but can, is rain as a system, a storm system. Low pressure comes in with some clouds and it rains, it gets cold, and it rains and it dumps water. Then you have a whole different set of conditions. If you have fresh water coming into the lake, um, then they may move up shallow. If the lake level's rising a lot, even if it's really cold or you get a cold front where it's 70, but now all of a sudden it drops, you get a thunder system comes in, flash flooding the lake, right? Some of them fish are going to pull up real shallow. So it just depends. But great question. All right. Kyle's Outdoors, what's up? Nice to see you on. Appreciate it. So, Mike McLean, no problem. I appreciate your support and hope you guys get them out at McClure. I know my buddies have been getting them. So they're probably fishing mid-range right now. I would assume 20, 25 feet, 15 feet of water. They may even be fishing shallow, but thanks, RC Creative. I know exactly how you feel, man. I've been working 12-hour days the last 2 days, and I got 3 hours of sleep last night and about 5 hours of sleep the night before. I'm super tired. I want to go to bed. I've got a tournament. I've got to get up at like 2 or 3 in the morning again tonight. So I really need to go to bed because the tournament's all the way in Salt Springs. I'm sure blast offs by 7 or before. So I need to be there at like 6 in the morning, if not earlier. It's about a 2-hour drive. Means I need to leave here by 4. Means I need to be up by at least 3. So yeah, I'm going to have to go call it a day as well. But before I head off, I would kindly ask you guys to smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And then this is, if you have any more questions, Marco, great question. Now is the time to ask, and I'll give you my honest answer. I never say I'm the best or that what I'm saying is like the way it has to be. I'm just trying to help, right? And share my perspective on fishing. I do all right. I'm not the worst. I'm not the best. And I'm trying to get much better. So I don't mind sharing, and I hope my tips and tricks help out. So thank you guys very much. Now, like I said, we're going to leave the floor to you guys. So any last questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to be signing off here in a few minutes. I'll give you guys till 8:15. If you guys have any questions, fire them away. And then we might hang out till 8:30 or something and answer them. But if we don't have any more, we'll just sign off here. So thank you guys very much. So I appreciate it. I've been collecting like the wazoo, got all my baseball cards out and all my stuff. Well, tell you guys what, I'm just going to go ahead and go hit the sack. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and, I don't see any popping up just yet. So unless you have a burning question and I'm still on, let me know. I'll try to answer it. But otherwise, what we'll do is we'll be reporting in Monday. We'll give you guys some on-air live feedback on how those 2 tournaments went back to back. Thanks, Mike, because we're going to have Salt Springs on Saturday, Millerton on Sunday. So I'm going into doubleheader weekend of tournaments. My son's going with me on one. My buddy's going with me on another. So wish me luck. We're going to try real hard. Monday, I will bring you guys the juice. We'll let you know, did I do good? Did I suck? If I did good, would I catch them on? How did I catch them? And then, the videos will be out coming soon. But I'll give you guys a live, up-to-date, play-by-play what's going on Monday. So hopefully we can put you guys on fish. And then most of next week, I'm going to be working in the Bay Area Monday through Friday. So I'll try to be on for our live streams. And if I'm a little bit late, just make sure your notification bell's checked, because I'm going to make sure that I'm going to try to make sure I don't miss any of them next week. But if I get in a little bit late, 5 or 10 minutes late, I'm going to still have the show. So Don't stress if it's 7:15 and I haven't popped on yet. And if I don't get on, I'll try to make it up the next day. So thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you. Big shout out to my members, to all of you guys who support the channel by being a member. So if you're not aware, we have memberships. And what you get by that is, oh, and I forgot to say, for those of you who are still on, shoot, we lost like half of you guys. Giveaway. It was supposed to be tonight. I was going to do it tonight, but things have been just so hectic, I forgot. So make sure you guys hit your notifications. We're going to have our giveaway Monday. So Monday, I'm going to pop on. I'm going to do my giveaway video. And if God forbid I'm late or something, we'll do it Tuesday or something. So it's going to happen Monday-ish. And we'll leave it open, and then we'll close it out like Wednesday or Friday. So we'll get as many people as we can, give them an opportunity to jump in and get a chance to win some cool stuff. So we're going to have a subscriber giveaway and a members giveaway. So we're going to have two. Remember, make sure that you jump in on the subscriber giveaway as well. So with that being said, I bid you guys adieu. Good night, and thank you guys for watching so much. Have a wonderful one, tight lines, and good luck for all of y'all if you're fishing. Take it easy.